Okay, very good. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a good lunch. The buffet was wonderful. Thank you for the hosts. We're starting the second part of the day. I think it was a very interesting first few sessions. And now we're going to talk about nurturing, motivating, engaging teams to drive a successful customer experience. And we have 4 panelists. They will introduce themselves, I think. But what's interesting, I think, is we have a cross section of sectors in size of operations, which I think will give us a good mix. We've had a chat before, and so I promise you this is going to be a very interesting and I would say different experiences on this important topic. So with that, I will let each participant introduce themselves and the organizations they represent, and maybe some opening comments on what has changed recently around what it takes to get unmatched customer experience and how to motivate the teams. We are all aware that we're now mostly working from home. So let's see, the way it's organized on my screen is Harriett, Natalie, James, and Jane, and that's probably random, but let's start with Harriett.
Great, hello everyone. So I'm the head of customer love for a company called Butternut Box. We're a startup delivering fresh, healthy dog food direct to your door on a subscription model. So I manage the customer love team. There's about 20 of us. We were quite well set up for home working before COVID happened. So we've transitioned actually quite well into that. But we had a really fantastic company culture within the office. We were very heavily office-based. We had an all-hands meeting every morning at 9 AM and we'd play games together and have a fantastic time. So that's probably been the biggest challenge for us, is keeping that up virtually, which we've managed to do. I spent my morning today running around the house trying to find things in colours to do with the Pride flag. So that was my morning, but it's been really fantastic to see, and our customers have all been wonderful as well. So it's been great for us.
Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalia Monvoisin and I'm the head of customer contact for the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. So for us, the biggest challenge is getting a team of 60 people who are office-based contact centre workers, getting them up and running into home flexible working with cloud technology. I think the biggest challenge has been also ensuring that we are communicating really effectively with our teams, ensuring that they know what's going on out there in the borough and being able to help and guide residents through a really, really challenging time. So that's been the biggest challenge for us, but yet it's been so rewarding with the amount of compliments that are now coming back in as we're starting to move into some kind of normal kind of life.
James, sorry.
Okay, so I thought it was. I didn't want to make any assumptions though. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Revell. I'm the general manager for the Air France-KLM European Sales and Service Centre, normally based in Wembley, but at the moment based just about everywhere, home working. We've had a home working setup for about 10 years now. So transitioning to 100% was pretty seamless. I think the biggest challenge for us is being an airline at the moment without any planes flying, which presents some unique challenges in terms of customer service, and it changes the nature of the contacts and the interactions that we're having on a day-to-day basis. Effectively, you have 250 people, most of whom now looking at processing refunds for customers. So to provide an uplifting service for customers where there's an underlying feeling that you're giving money away and undermining the sustainability of the company that you're working for, that is a big challenge in trying to motivate those teams during these difficult times, particularly given that we are now fully virtual.
Jane?
Hello everybody, I'm Jane Bates. I'm the Business Services Director for Co-op. The operation that I run is just shy of 800 FTE, and we've got 4 core teams, a report to record, source to pay, hire to retire, and the one that's most connected and relevant today is our sales and service team. They're tasked with providing support to customers and members across our food retailing estate, across our funeral care business, our e-commerce and our health businesses. And we also provide significant support, colleague support, relating to anything operational or indeed facilities issues that they may face into. In the last 10 weeks, the operation has changed beyond my imagination, in the sense that we were an analogue contact center based in data centers. We've moved on to a cloud platform, and that was a very practical need, and the team have coped with that enormously. I think the biggest shift that we have had to come to terms with and help our agents with is the fact that customers needed a level of support that we've never seen before. They wanted to talk, and if you think about the funeral care business, clearly that's been very directly impacted, but so has our food stores, and the teams have been having to talk more with customers, but also interestingly, you're held responsible for the general public in how they come in and use your facilities. So it's very difficult for an agent to have to apologise on behalf of another member of the public who has invaded social distancing and that sort of thing. So the nature of our complaints has changed, and we also saw a significant channel shift as well. So the business has changed beyond recognition, but we're just settling into that. The new cloud telephony platform, that's by the by. And yet I keep saying to the team, that's such an enormous change that we've facilitated over a few weeks.
Thank you. I think we have an opportunity now, and time is not too long, to dive deeper maybe into the question of how do you keep indeed the teams motivated in this remote way? Is it what kind of use of either incentives or communication or technology to make sure that everybody is as engaged as possible, in particular because, as we've heard, it's tougher. Right? The clients want, or the consumers want different things, and everybody's at home and they're naturally away from their colleagues and the supervisor who can give a word of encouragement or even coaching. How has that been working? What have you been using? You tell me one by one, I guess. Let's again start with Harriett.
Okay, great.
We'll keep the sequence, I guess, until somebody has nothing to say, and then we'll skip.
Yeah, fast. So we, on day 1 of lockdown, actually installed a system that means you can call each other really quickly as a video chat, rather than having to set up a meeting link or anything like that. You just dial and it pops up on the other person's laptop. And with that as well, you can record each other video messages, which is really nice. So every day we will record video messages of what we're having for lunch, or what our dogs are up to, or where we've been on a walk, and things like that. And we really have kept our huge focus on the team engagement. And it's Butternut, we never use the word agents or contact centres. It's always team members and the customer love team. That's something that we'll always keep to, just to make sure that the team feel part of the rest of the business as well, because you don't talk about marketing people as agents. So just keeping that kind of family feel. And like I said, we play games every morning, so we have monetary incentives for the games for everyone to win. So we've accumulated, everyone's now got £30 to spend on whatever they want. So we're going to try and do like a big team lunch on a hangout, and then other things like we have a hangout every day for the whole business as well, that people can drop into, have lunch together, have chats. We have the donut chats that go around as well. It's really for us about keeping the team connected to each other. That has been the biggest source of motivation and engagement, and keeping everybody sane really and happy is so important for us. Happy happy team members are happy customers in our eyes, and everyone's gone over and above to help each other out. And then we launched, separately to that, we launched some peer awards as well. So the people in the Customer Love team could nominate each other for different awards and win some gift vouchers and that kind of thing for delivering on our value sets as well. So really keeping our values close to heart. But it's been so wonderful to see how much everyone's kind of stuck together and helped each other out. And to your point of not having someone there to turn to, we found the systems that we've implemented so useful in people being able to feel like they can just call someone else and it's not a bother.
I will add to the question before Natalia answers. Have you changed some of the, I guess, performance indicators you're looking at also as part of this transition? Go ahead, Natalia.
So, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's had to be quite integral to keeping our teams motivated and engaged, because whilst there was a physical presence in the contact centre with floor walkers, etc., monitoring performance, that kind of stuff, what we've done with our KPIs is we've actually made them more game-like, shall I say. We haven't gone right into the gamification process. That's something that we will pick up on and run with once we look at establishing the remote workforce, but we've made it more fun, and I think that's had to be really, really important for our teams, especially with the kind of calls they have been taking from residents as well, to kind of break away from that. So whilst we look at our same core KPIs that we've been managing, you know, the standard ones that you would within a contact centre, we've also looked at recognition and actually bringing that in as a KPI. How many customer compliments can you get within within your, you know, your shift period, and actually then surfacing those into the rest of the directorate and up into the CEO level, who will then pick out some of the best across the whole of the organisation and do a virtual recognition ceremony with those people. And I think recognition has had to be a really, really strong platform to keep staff motivated and engaged. And off the back of that as well, development. I think there is a massive opportunity now to really include and encourage development for staff, because I think time is better managed virtually now. People have got more control of their schedules because they are virtually managing their work life balance. They're virtually managing the tasks that are coming through, and including development for them as part of their day-to-day, I think is really, really key in keeping them motivated and engaged also.
James?
Sorry, so to take up from there, firstly for the question on the KPIs, have we changed them because of going to 100% remote? No. Have we changed the KPIs because of COVID and the pressures that's put on? Then yes, indeed. So it's a kind of two parts to that question. In terms of you know, how we've adapted, I think previously, because we had a hybrid setup where we had about 60 to 70% of people who were structurally working from home, I had kind of said I'm a big promoter of home working, remote working, and have been for quite some time. But I didn't want to go above 70, 80% because I thought that one of the brilliant things about a contact center is that intermingling and the collaboration and the dynamic setting that a traditional office contact center environment brings. So it was always vital for me, even for those people that were working from home, to come in to engage with that office environment as a central hub a couple of times a month. So that has changed significantly because of the current circumstances. So we've had to adapt. So what is the central hub, if you like, for us now is something we've had for quite some time, which is our app, which is available on our colleagues' desktops, but also on their mobile devices, so that they can interact and engage with us as a centre and as a community. So that is really aligned with the company culture, the company values, and it's organised in such a way. And we've really had to push the wellness onto that. We have had to do things like setting up like a Strava leaderboard which I'm not on at all because I cannot run, but lead a board with so that people can firstly promoting that need for physical exercise in lockdown, but also the notion of a community aspect and people being able to connect with the colleagues in a different way to the ones that they've usually been used to. Quizzes, a social aspect that Harriett was talking about earlier. But also for us as management team members, when we're in the office, we don't have our own office. We sit with the teams, so it's very important for us to have that connection with the teams as well. So we call our team members on an individual basis every week. The 250 of us, so we work through them systematically over a period of weeks, but just to catch up, to connect with them, to see what they're like from a wellness perspective, how they're getting on, what are their fears and their concerns, because I can understand that there are many things that are up in the air at the moment, apart from our flights, ironically. So that's very important for us to be able to touch in with them. So it has been a slight adaptation of the previous model that we've had through necessity.
I think, sorry, Jane, and then we will ask the attendees some questions as well before we address theirs. Please, Jane.
I think there's a reality, given we went from an in-house contact centre where everybody was together to almost an entire home working solution. That was a real departure. So what we knew we needed to do was increase our communication no end. So in a similar fashion to Harriett, we've made use of video messaging, Yammer, Teams, etc., to keep up to date with people. But that hasn't been the key for us. The key has been changing the nature of the communication that we've flowed through all of our channels. And that's been about bringing a real humility and emotion and focusing on a very different kind of rhetoric with our agents. So we've absolutely headlined well-being, emotionally, physically, mentally. We've created a dialogue with that. We've wanted people to connect with their feelings, and in doing that, we've asked our colleagues then to choose which was the best option for them in terms of where did they feel most supported. So having introduced a whole home working capability, our colleagues, for example, on our funeral care lines, where they're dealing with bringing loved ones into our care, many of those colleagues chose to come into the contact centre so that they had some resilience from each other. And I think that was really important. But in terms of KPIs and things, and I didn't talk once and haven't spoken once around average handling times or any of that. I've noticed with interest. But the things I did look at was answer rate and abandon calls, and we flexed up our resources with a significant number of temporary colleagues, so that our colleagues felt that they could do their job well without those sort of normal parameters hanging over them. And the only thing that we have celebrated really widely has been our customer satisfaction SLAs. But that's been the only thing. And the rest was, you must feel like you're satisfied. We need to look after you in order to look after our customer. So we completely shifted with well-being right on up there. Sat against also the context that life had changed. So we talked straight away around, we understand your world. You know, you've got your children at home. Maybe your partner's been furloughed. The practicalities of just working out how you feed everybody while you're meant to be working. You know, we talked very much about those things. So introduced a humility, which I shan't want to lose now, but that has been our absolute key to success.
Very inspiring. Sam, can we ask the participants some questions? We have, oh, there we go.
We'll just leave it up there for another 20 seconds.
I cannot see the answers. I can only see the questions. Okay, very interesting. So, obviously the majority think that we are somehow at a new stable or new rhythm. The question, I'll just read the question, I'm sure everybody's read it. As of today, with the restrictions easing, our contact teams turned working remotely, has the motivation level changed? And we spoke about the initial transition, and it seems, at least from this response, that we are maintaining a relatively high level. If we can go to the next question immediately, which talks about the future, and I think will be a good setup for the next round of questions, which is how do we unravel, or how do we go back? Is there a going back? How do you expect the motivation and energy levels once teams start getting back?
Sorry, just asking a question. Sorry, Ronen, would you mind repeating?
I'm waiting for the question. There we go. The question was, how do you expect, this was the survey, the poll question, and then I would pose a question to the panelists. But we asked our audience, how do you expect the energy levels to change once we start going back? And here it's more a mixed, I guess, picture, where either we don't expect a change or we think it's higher. I don't think it's a big margin and probably not statistically significant. But there's no clear answer. We actually don't really know. It's like we didn't know what would happen when we moved everybody home. We just needed to do it because the customers need answers, and so everybody goes home because we can't stay in the contact center. Would be interesting to get your thoughts on what are you planning operationally, and I'm sure everybody is thinking about how work, a mix, I guess, will pan out. We'll start, James, you'll start the sequence.
Okay.
For some, there's a scramble, there's a random here on my screen, so now we start with James.
Oh, there's a randomizer, I see. Okay. So I think listening to the concerns of colleagues, there's a lot of people, there's two, I think, into two categories now. There's people that want to come back to the office, that are absolutely mad keen to come on back to the office because they never envisaged working from home before. They don't like it. They haven't got the setup. They are perhaps more vulnerable from a mental health perspective. And I think that we have a duty of care to those individuals to get them back into a safe office environment. Then I think we have a larger proportion of people who do not want to brave the London Underground at such a difficult time and do not want to set foot back into the office. So I think that we have to ensure that our approach is even more flexible. We have to tailor-make, if you like, for 250 people our approach. That means that our remote working guidelines that we had previously, we have to be more flexible, not obliging people to come back in the office once every 2 weeks. Again, people are, and they were in the run-up to this, genuinely afraid of going outside. I think we have some work to do later on down the line, because it could be that regardless of how much the restrictions are relieved, that they may still not want to go outside. And I think we have to try and help them transit back and to reassure people. But in the short to medium term, I think we just have to be more flexible with our approach in terms of home working and saying that you don't have to come back. Full health and safety assessment of the site. Put everything in to make sure that it is up and running for those people who do want to come back into the office. And then we have to run that hybrid workforce for a considerable period of time, because that is something that I think everyone's going to be concerned about, and there's going to be different demands, different needs, different wants over the next few months.
Harriett, anybody coming back soon? How?
I honestly cannot wait to go back to the office. We had a big 4th birthday party the day before we went into lockdown, so there's still confetti everywhere, all over the office. No one's cleaned it up yet. So but yeah, it's the same for us. We're just trying to be really flexible. So for the next 3 months, we will be saying if people want to come back in, they can, but we'll have a limit on how many people can do if they want to come back in, obviously we're going to carry out risk assessment and make sure that the office can be deep cleaned every day, make sure that people have the right PPE when they come into the office and feel safe to get there. And then after that, we have kind of a period at the back end of the year where, depending obviously on everything, it will be potentially having 2 or 3 different teams, and it's a staggered, Mondays the blue team comes in, Wednesdays the red team, etc. And potentially trying to do it by departments as well, to see who's going to come back when. But we will be running for the rest of the year. Everything's still virtually, so even if half the team are in the office, we won't have normal meetings taking place. Everyone will still be dialed in to video calls as normal, just to try and keep everything as normal running as possible. And then hopefully from January next year, we'll see a bit more of a return to normal office working, just with a bit more flexibility around working from home when people want to. But yeah, so many personal circumstances to take into consideration, and people that are still vulnerable, or family members that are vulnerable, and childcare and all those kinds of things that you have to account for, that to plan for is so difficult to do.
Jane?
I think I can only really echo, I'm afraid, what Harriett and James have said, in the sense that we're going to work completely on colleague preference. So we have opened up the doors already to those colleagues who were saying, from a mental health perspective, they really were at a place where they needed to come back into the office. We're very lucky, we've got a very large building. It would normally accommodate 4,000 people. We've got just shy of 300 in it at the moment, so social distancing, etc., is all being adhered to. The PPE guidelines, etc., are all in place. So we've literally said to the colleagues, if you feel that you need the level of support and you want to come into the office, then do, but only if they are sat in that bracket where they feel, from a wellbeing perspective, that's necessary. I can't ever see a time when we will go back to an occupancy of 4,000, and frankly, I would deem it as a failure if we do. So my team and I are already planning now that this really will become the new norm. The challenge that it presents more for us is we are in a marathon here, aren't we? As we sit here, we are almost all facing into an inevitable second wave of COVID. I think it's coming. I don't think it's if, it's when. And as a result of that, therefore, keeping some of this consistency ongoing for a few months undoubtedly becomes important. But why go back? And to help your colleagues become resilient and make sure they're fit for the marathon, and they haven't just survived the sprint on their knees. And I think that's where our focus has become.
I agree. If I may add something, Ronen, to that as well. I think
when
if we come back to
send out when I schedule a communication, and when you're like delayed delivery, do not deliver before. Yeah. Do I need?
Wait. Whoa.
Sorry.
I was like, ventriloquist. Who's talking without moving their mouth? Oh, no,
Just to add a point, and to come back, if you look at the, nurturing, motivating, engaged teams in terms of that, I think, what I think a lot of companies have done over the last week in terms of nurturing, motivated, engaged teams, is the kind of symmetry between a colleague satisfaction and customer satisfaction. We offer to our colleagues, in order to make sure that they're motivated and engaged to offer excellent customer service, what we offer to our customers, which is the flexibility and choice. And I think that we've seen that in our metrics in terms of our a stance towards remote working up until now. We give you the choice to work where you want for the best outcomes for yourself and ultimately the best outcomes for the business. And we've seen metrics improve from a people and a customer perspective on all fronts. Our sickness absenteeism rate is at an all-time low because of that, and customer satisfaction is at an all-time high These are the kind of metrics, the people metrics, and those custom metrics that we should be looking at. Further to Carrie's point from the interaction speech about changing the metrics that we look at. Don't bother with AHT. These are difficult times. We've never been here before. We don't know how long a call is under these circumstances. It's never been measured. So let's concentrate on our employee satisfaction and our customer satisfaction as the metrics that drive that. And if you keep that symmetric approach to that and keep that in balance, then I think that you're onto a winning strategy.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, I think, you know, echoing what Jane said about, you know, it would be deemed a failure if we then, you know, suddenly opened our doors and I've got, you know, a full suite of people sitting within the contact centre. So what we've done, we did a wellbeing and health survey with all of our colleagues over the last couple of weeks, and 95% want to remain within the flexible working, home working environment because it absolutely suits them. So with that in mind, I am not looking to bring in the contact centre back into an office space. I'm looking to operate that team remotely, and we are now working through our recovery plan to see what we can retain, what we can reinvent, and what that service looks like moving forward. And it is a massive punt that we're probably taking on doing this, but I'm really excited, as are my team, because we're working together to make this happen.
Just a comment, and I am not a member of the panelist, but we have many employees across Europe, and we're serving many customers, and we see the different strategies of some of our customers, the corporations. And as an outsourcer, we do two things. One, we make sure that the contact centers are safe. So a checkerboard layout, making the distances, having the disinfectant, the masks, all of that, and it's obvious. The other is indeed offering the flexibility to the agents to choose what they want. I have to say, and you know, we have many delegates in the office, it is much easier to work with clients that have a contact center. You know, typically, we want to be the outsourcer, we want to be the outsourcer. Where there is an organization that has an internal contact center, and they're going through the same issues, it is a much more fruitful dialogue. Hey, how are you doing this? This system seems to be slower than that system. How are you, talking with your agents? What kind of systems? Versus people who are outsourcing everything, and then having this dialogue. It's like, look, some of the agents want to come back, some of the agents want to stay at home, and we shouldn't be forcing them to do either, because it's an individual choice. So it's big differences. We've had a question. I think we have something like 5 minutes left, and we'll have a chance to dig into more of these topics one-on-one. We're breaking into groups. That's the next technology capability we're introducing. And so, as a group, the question was, and I think we can all see it, beyond the stress of coronavirus and the horrific numbers coming in through statistics, etc., and the individual situation, the added anxiety. Is there anything else anybody is doing? Because the reality, I think, in the transparency, the employees know that airlines are not doing well, that the government is going to have to be, doing some cost measures, etc., etc. So this is a question to all of you, I guess. Jane, you want to start? If you have, or if anybody has something, I think interesting or very different to this, let's do it this way.
My sense is against what is going to be a backdrop that many of us have never experienced, the sheer depth of the recession, the likelihood of COVID coming back, the fear that's created actually, and the difference it's made to lives. I think it's going to force all of us just to remain in that space where humility has to top the board, listening to your colleagues has to be a primary concern of your leadership team, and really understanding that colleagues' individual set of circumstances is the only way you're going to be able to provide them with the level of support they need to be able to work well and deliver the customer results that you would want. And it comes back, doesn't it, to that old adage, which I have grown my career on, which is look after your people and they will look after the customer. Never a truer word spoken. For my mind, the conversation in the company and the way in which we communicate just has to take on that much more personable, warmer, more emotional context. It's not a secret ingredient, actually. You know, all of us who've been in the customer service profession for so long, we forget actually it's quite simple in terms of the focus that you need. If you focus on that, you won't go far wrong. Well, I certainly haven't found I've gone far wrong with that in the past.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with that, Jack. And from a local government point of view, you know, the old title for civil servants or public servants, and the main focus of all of our team right now is what can we do to help our residents and keep them really focused on that. And then from a leadership point of view, it's enabling our teams to be able to do that and giving them that empowerment to be able to help those residents that are calling that really, really need that help. And that just helps them, I think, really understand and keep valuing what they're doing, while still being very, very authentic about the message of what cuts will eventually come. And I think through local government, cutting services has always been part of the role as such, even outside of these times.
And I think at the moment as well, I mean, there's no sugarcoating a lot of things that you would perhaps sugarcoat in the past with what's happening at the moment. Full transparency, openness, honesty about what is happening is key. And also be true to the values and cultures of your organisation as well, just to make sure there's continuity. From our side, it's quite easy insofar as it's got broad values, but we care for our customers, we care for our people. So I think we have to show our people that we care for them in order for them to show that they care for their customers. And that means having a more bespoke, individual approach. And this was one thing when we went into remote working years ago, which we underestimated, is the impact for line managers and people managers. We were so worried about what it meant for the frontline workers, our advisors, our ambassadors, that we really neglected maybe for line managers. But they have such a key role to play to ensure that they're filtering the key messages through, that they're offering pastoral support for people. Wellness has really gone up the agenda, and even more so mental health has gone up under the current lockdown circumstances. So it really is about speaking to people on a regular basis and then providing them bespoke answers and solutions to their individual problems. It is a lot of time, but it is time well invested.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that is just generally leadership-wise, our co-founders have been so vocal each week. They'll send around so much information about things that they're doing or working on, or how we are doing as a company. And one of our values is open and honest. And like James just said, there's none of it is ever sugar-coated, which gives you a bit of confidence that when they tell you something's going to be fine, you trust that it's going to be fine. And even obviously in the last week or so with the Black Lives Matter as well, that's kind of come into the office. I know that's a whole separate talking point to COVID, but the way that we've responded to that as well has been so wonderful to see how important our co-founders find these things and make changes straight away, depending on how the team is feeling, and they will just talk to people. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's just people talking to people, making sure that the issues and the concerns are really heard and listened to.
Flexibility and humility are the parting thoughts here. I want to encourage, we're now going into breakout groups, and you have separate links. We will all convene again to the closing keynote by Nicola from BT. And so go out to your break rooms, go get coffee, and we'll meet back at 4.
Thank you.